Hello, Exeter, and today we have Cathleen Toomey.
Car, so drove up, and then after that I bent over.
Kathleen, it is great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Garrett. I'm so thrilled to be here in this beautiful studio that I didn't even know existed.
It's our hidden little secret.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah.
So you have quite the track record. More recently, Riverwoods, and you have this podcast, Seniority Authority. So how about let's start a little bit with you first, before we get into that exciting stuff. So what's your story with Exeter? Of all places, why Exeter?
Oh my gosh. This is really interesting. I moved to the Portsmouth area back in a long time ago, the late 70s, the late 80s, and came here to work for Timberland. I was working in an ad agency in Boston. I had been in ad agencies in New York, and I came to work for a client, and I came kicking and screaming, thinking, I'm leaving Boston, I'm passing the alfalfa farm, and I have 45 more minutes to go. Where is this place, Portsmouth? And I fell in love with the area, with the seacoast, with the beauty of it, with the historic nature of it, and with the fact that I could make a difference. I got involved in Crossroads House, the homeless shelter, got on the board, made some friends, and I really loved the community. So eventually, I started to work for Stonyfield Farm, which is in Londonderry, and it was a little bit longer of a commute, so I moved to Exeter, and this was over 20 years ago. I think it's 23 years ago. My brother had moved here, and he lived on Union Street and had a family of 4, and so it was great to be close to them. And I had this same experience. I just loved the downtown. I loved the independent bookstore, all the independent stores. It was such a charming, beautiful place. And it is my adopted hometown.
Lovely. Love to hear that. It's like straight out of a Lifetime movie.
I don't know about that, but I really do, having lived in cities and worked in larger agencies, coming here to New Hampshire, I just enjoy how easy it is to live here, all the beauty that we have around us, and I've been able to choose to work for places where I really feel like I am making a difference. I am changing people's lives, especially with Riverwoods, which I've been at Riverwoods for 15 years, and it has never been boring. So you feel like you are doing wonderful work and making a difference, and having the opportunity to live in this beautiful area where it is easy to make connections and make true friendships with people.
Wonderful. Sounds very much like you are Miss Charitable.
Well, I like giving back. I feel like I have had a very fortunate life, and grew up in a very strong family, and I know that there's a lot of people that haven't had those. So I've been involved in Crossroads House, St. Vincent de Paul here in Exeter, was on the board with Women Aid, and love the Women Aid mission. I've really believe in Women Aid and what they do. There's just so many opportunities to give back, and giving back, really makes you feel wonderful.
Definitely, there's nothing like it when you put a smile on someone's face
Yep.
in certain situations. So we're gonna now talk just a little bit about Riverwoods before we get to your podcast.
Sure.
So what drove you on to Riverwoods?
I knew nothing about Riverwoods before I walked in for a job interview. So a friend of mine who lives on Union Street, still does, read in the paper, which is about a job opportunity, which tells you how long ago that was. And she said, you should try this out, because by that time I had been living in Exeter for a while, and the commute to Londonderry was longer, and I just love this community, and I thought, why not take a look and see what that's like. So Riverwoods is a continuing care retirement community, which is also called a CCRC, which is an awkward acronym. But it basically means that you come to Riverwoods when you are 62 years old or better, and you are independent. You can live safely on your own, and you enjoy one meal a day. You'd enjoy inside and outside maintenance. You can attend classes, fitness classes, and art classes, and lectures, and programs, and you're with a whole bunch of people that have similar interests. And then, as you grow older, if your health needs change, you can transition right within the community a lot. And we are a homegrown, nonprofit retirement community created by women here in New Hampshire. I've seen people become wonderful artists and woodworkers and give back to the community, and they form the friendships that I was talking about that have sustained me living here in Exeter. They have formed those friendships. How often do you hear of a 72-year-old saying, I have a new best friend?
Very rarely.
Yeah. So it's an incredible place.
Yeah. So like a retirement home that challenges you to be better. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Perfect.
I like the idea of that.
Perfect.
So we'll take that opportunity now to jump on over to
Sure.
seniority authority. So let's get started with what inspired you to make a podcast.
Cocktail parties.
Cocktail parties. All right.
So,
Is it the Cocktail Party podcast?
no, that would be good. I think I should do that and have a different drink of the podcast. But in the before times, so before COVID, when we all went to cocktail parties and dinner parties, all of a sudden, like 3 years ago, and I've been getting together the same group of people, all of a sudden people started asking me questions about aging. So they would say, hey, I think my mom has the start of dementia. How do I know if that is true? Or they would say, I think my dad needs assisted living. What is that? And how do I find a good assisted living? Now, I'm in marketing. I am not a nurse. I am not a specialist, but I want to help people. So I would go back to Riverwoods and ask my very smart friend, Cindy Martin, who's head of health services, or was head of health services, now she's head of quality. I would ask her the answer to these questions. She'd tell me, I'd call them back. And that kept happening more and more. And I thought, I don't have that many friends. So if my friends are coming to me with all these questions, I bet other people my age, early boomers, are starting to get these questions because their parents are living longer and because they didn't know that they had to find the answer to these questions. So I thought, why not amplify the answers and create a podcast that helps people who are trying to understand aging. So my podcast, which launched in April of last year, tries to answer the questions that I've heard in cocktail parties, that I hear from my friends, that everybody has about aging, about new research on aging, what to do now, if you're concerned about something. I'm trying to provide information to a lot of people about how to understand this process that we're all going through. Blindly jumped in.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Gonna
exactly.
get somebody who might know, gonna talk to some people, gonna get a microphone. All right, let's do this.
It's the nonprofit way, right? You don't got a microphone, and my assistant Kaylee Brooks, who said to me, I was not an AV geek in high school, and I don't want to be an AV geek now. She's the one who's now the AV geek. She does the technical side of doing this, and so it's really by hook or by crook. But the reason we did the podcast is that the people that are coming up with these questions are what we call adult children, people that are 50 plus. These are busy people. They don't have time to come to Zoom events. They don't have time to do a noon event or an evening event, but they want the information. And they are the demographic that's listening to podcasts. So we have to fish where the fish are. We have to do a podcast to give them answers, to get them the information that they need. And it's a podcast that's not about promoting Riverwoods. It's a podcast for everyone who's got a question about fitness, Alzheimer's, downsizing, insurance, finance, how to communicate with your parents, how to find assisted living, how to find home care. Anything that you have a question about, we are trying to answer. And it's not me creating the answers. I'm smart enough to know that I'm not smart enough to answer the questions. So I have been fortunate enough to be able to interview a wonderful group of authors, scientists, researchers, professionals. I have Bob Waldinger, who is the head of Harvard's longevity study. I was able to interview Dan Heath, who is a New York Times best-selling author with his brother Chip Heath, professors, scientists. So I interview them, and I will take their book or their study and review it and then boil it down to a podcast. And every single podcast has tips that you can do, you the listener can do to change your life or someone else's life. So I don't want this to be esoteric. I want this to be very practical. And I'm looking for questions from people about things that they want to understand. My most recent question was on grief. So part of what my podcast is hoping to do is to enable people to look at themselves, to understand they have the possibility of living a much longer life, and to say, in the words of Mary Oliver, what do you want to do with that one wild, precious life? What do you want to do with the years you have left? You have so much opportunity right now that no other generation has. And how do you want that to be? So I think of it as an opportunity for people to really have some reflection and some understanding of where we are. We can get so caught up in these third world or first world problems. Your coffee's not hot enough, or you can't find a parking spot in the grocery store. Life is so much more than that.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity to still make a difference, to still change yourself, change others. And I think we all have the opportunity to make a difference,
Yeah.
no matter how old we are.
Yeah. And so his last words, also my last question. So you see that, and are you seeing that here, like in this community, not just like with Riverwoods, but I've only worked here for a little over a year now, and I meet a lot of people that are that 55, 65 plus range. And I'm hearing people talking about, well, I retired and I decided I wanted to come here. I moved here a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I'm starting to get older and I moved here 6 years ago. And are you finding that too here in this community? These people who are now moving?
Well, I know that in the past 10 years, I know that for Riverwoods, more and more people are choosing to move to a retirement community. So people are, I think, understanding the concept of what a retirement community is, and they're not thinking about their grandfather's nursing home. They're realizing it provides them a lot of opportunity. So we have more people moving here to Riverwoods, and the people that move here come from New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Florida. We've had a lot of people moving here from California, believe it or not. So people move from all over the country here to Exeter because of the beautiful community that we have. The main street full of independent store owners, the beauty of the river and the woods, and being close to the mountains and the shore, and being smaller than like a Portsmouth. So I do think that our town, it's not as big as Portsmouth and not as discovered as Portsmouth, but I think more people are coming here because of the opportunity for engagement, connection, and that kind of small town feel where you get to know people face to face.
All right. Kathleen, thank you very much.
Garrett, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting to have this program.
It was exciting to have you on here, and it's exciting to do this program. All right, Exeter, you heard it. If you are interested in being in the spotlight or recommending someone, you can always contact us at extvg@exeternh.gov. Thank you, and have a great day.